Hello, you're listening to The Popcorn Conspiracy on CentralCoastRadio.com. I'm your host, Kyle, and right now I'm going to talk about a movie that I saw, a very British film called Alleluja. And it's a story about Bethlehem Hospital, also known as The Beth. Now, it's mostly set in their geriatric ward, which is named, what was it named? Ah, that's it. Dusty Springfield Ward. It was kind of a weird name, I know. Now, there's a few things going on in this movie. One, a management consultant named Colin Coleman, played by Russell Tovey, he's sent from London to make budget cuts to the NHS and potentially close the Beth. Now, while he's there, the head nurse, Sister Gilpin, played by Jennifer Saunders, she's soon to be awarded for a lifetime of providing care. And she faces a never ending battle to free up beds for fast turnover. Now, the current residents of Dusty Springfield Ward, they're kind of an eclectic group of senior citizens, each with their own story to tell. One is a former teacher named Mr. Ambrose, played by Derek Jacobi. He waxes poetic all day with the doctors. Another one is a one-time librarian named Mary, played by Judi Dench, and she spends as little time in the spotlight as possible. As she puts it, kind of staying in the corners of the page, like little scribbles in the corner of the page. Um, and also Joe Coleman, played by David Bradley, who's actually Colin's father. He was once a proud tally keeper at a mine he would ensure that any man who went down into a mine made it back up again. Now, overseeing the recovery is the ward's aptly named Dr. Valentine, played by Bally Gill. Now, he has a very romantic view of the elderly and his own place within their lives. And all of this is being captured by a documentarian crew who are there to record interviews and just day to day life of these people in the lead up to Sister Gilpin's award ceremony. And so it's kind of a slice of life kind of story, just looking into these people's lives. And it's obviously got a very strong message about the NHS and um, kind of the importance of hospitals, the importance of medical professionals, and that's something that only gets stronger and more apparent as the film goes on. It's directed by Richard Eyre and written by Heidi Thomas, but Alleluia is actually based on a play by the prolific and legendary writer Alan Bennett. And it starts off as really, you would think, just a standard British comedy with the who's who of British actors, kind of like something like Best Marigold Hotel or whatever, what have you. But it quickly becomes something quite different entirely. The writer Heidi Thomas, she's probably best known as the creator and lead writer of the hugely popular BBC series Call the Midwife. So this isn't the first time that kind of humor and drama. This isn't her first rodeo. What I'm saying, dealing with a medical based storyline. Um, of course, Alan Bennett, being the legend that he is, I guess you have to kind of trust that Heidi Thomas was able to bring his words to the screen correctly, and I don't know. I can't say whether that's the case or not. I've never seen Bennett's original play, but definitely the greatest asset of this movie is early on when the documentarian crew is interviewing all the different characters of this ward, and that's when it's at its strongest because it just shows you all the different. It gives it gives a decent reason for you to just see a little glimpse into the lives of all these different people, and not only what they feel of their own situation, but just the hospital itself and what it has meant to them their entire lives. Like Dr. Valentine clearly has a quite a somewhat naive view of things. Like he's really kind of stars in his eyes. The idea of all the things that he can do to help people, and he's really got like really high hopes. Whereas Sister Gilpin, who's actually the one that's being awarded for her service, she's much more run down, and she's much more she's doing her job, but she's a lot more burnt out about it than he is. So it's kind of interesting to see so much of a dynamic between the two as that. Um, I think my two favorite performers in this would be Jacoby and Gil. Kind of the way that both their characters, the character of Mr. Ambrose and the character of Dr. Valentine, how their love of poetry. Uh, Dr. Valentine is new to the country, and so he's still going through lessons in English, and he's doing tests and stuff like that. So he's learning from Dr. Ambrose. And I don't know, I really like the back and forth that they had throughout the movie, and I think that's really what this movie has going for it. Judi Dench as well is brilliant, but I guess it kind of fits with her character that she's kind of out of the picture for most of it. Um, like there was times where I was thinking, okay, where is she? Like I haven't seen much of her, and that's kind of, again, that is kind of it is kind of the point of her character. It is even a plot point as well that you don't really see her milling around. It's kind of an important plot device that's used. But I don't know. I just thought there was kind of a little bit of a waste of her talents, like for her to not really be in the movie that much. Um, I don't know, but I think as joyful as the movie can be, like there's a lot of humor in this, a lot of endearing moments, but as as joyful as it can be, it I think it's going to be quite controversial for just how dark it can get. Um, like it feels like it feels like a little like a movie that's being torn in two different directions at once. It wants to be two very different films at the same time. Um, it it's tricky. I can't really talk about it, but it's specifically towards the end, like really the last um, for where the movie ends up, and how much of a sharp turn that it takes in its finale, or more its final 20 minutes or so, for how dark it gets. Um, it would kind of make you wonder, okay, well, what was the point of all the rest of it? What was the point of everything that led up to this? And that's a pity because I actually did enjoy all of that. But just for the sake of the overall story, it does kind of, when you look at it as a whole, it kind of meanders up until the ending, and then suddenly it's a completely different movie. And there was no adequate foreshadowing or build up to that. And I really like foreshadowing in a movie. I like it when it's done really well, when it's hinted in there. And this movie isn't one that really pulls that off. Again, I'm not sure if the Alan Bennett play is, it could be completely different. I'm not sure, but um, yeah, this movie does kind of take quite a turn at the end, and then it takes an even more drastic turn for its finale, where it doesn't just lay it all on the table of what it wants the message of this movie to be. It beats you over the head with it. Like it, when people talk about they don't want the message of a movie, they want it to be a little bit more subtle. When they don't want to be beaten over the head with a message, this is the kind of thing they're talking about. This is exactly what they're talking about because it is so on the nose. It is so blunt in just how character literally just starts talking to the camera. It couldn't get any more blunt. And it's so on the nose, it's so over the top. And considering everything that built up there, like I said, it starts off as this nice little movie. I kind of even like the idea of it starting off as this kind of like happy movie, and maybe it getting a little bit darker as it goes on as you get closer and deeper into these people's lives. But because the sudden twists that it has aren't really they're kind of counterproductive, to be honest, to the actual message of the movie. It's kind of like there's this really dark twist in the film, and then the actual moral of the movie is, yeah, but don't worry about that, and, and like don't think about that. Just ignore that. And so yeah, it's a little hard to know um, where exactly Richard Heidi Thomas and Alan Bennett are coming from. Like, because again, I'm not like there's something very modern about this movie in in relation to past events over the last couple of years. And I'm not sure whether to be honest, I'm not sure when Alan Bennett's play was written. It could have been written after them as well. Maybe this is in line with what his I just don't know. I'm not sure what exactly the message of the original play was, and if this is a faithful recreation of it, because it's a little bit, I don't know. It's just a little bit yeah, it's a little bit aimless, I would guess. Yeah, so I'm gonna give this 3 out of 5, mainly because just I did enjoy the majority of the film. It just gets really dark really quickly, and then the message at the end is just so it's so ham-fisted in how it's delivered at the end that it kind of it leaves you it honestly you walk out of the cinema with a sour taste in your mouth, which yeah, all but ruins the experience, which is quite a pity because I think the actors in this movie were just a joy to watch. Yeah, so that would be it. A 3 out of 5 for me. Give it a shot. Try it out. There's a lot of actors in this movie that if you're a fan of uh, British theatre or comedies or anything over the last few years, there's plenty of actors in this movie that you would be fans of, like David Bradley for one, of course, and yeah, and Jennifer Saunders, Judi Dench. There's so many people in this movie that are worth watching just for them. That's really the big draw of it, I think. So I don't know, give it a shot and see what you think. Um, yeah, yeah. So you're listening to Popcorn Conspiracy on CentralCoastRadio.com, and we'll be back right after this.